A single mom shouldn't be giving marriage advice. The words came out of Vanessa's mouth like she was spitting something sour. Right there, in my dining room, in front of everyone. Sunday lunch, the table set with that porcelain dinnerware I bought myself 2 years ago. $6,000 straight out of my account without hesitation, because I wanted my son to have a beautiful home. The food was still steaming on the plates. Lasagna I had spent 3 hours making. But no one was eating anymore. Everyone was just looking at me, waiting. I had only just commented, that marriage takes patience. That was all. Tiago had complained that Vanessa forgot to pick up Igor from preschool for the 3rd time that week, and I, trying to calm things down, said that marriage is about forgiving each other's little mistakes. That was it. Vanessa dropped her fork, turned to me with that thin smile she gives right before attacking, and said the words. A single mom shouldn't be giving marriage advice. You couldn't even keep a man, Claudia. Silence. The kind that presses down on your chest. Igor, my 4-year-old grandson, started crying softly in his booster seat. He didn't understand what was happening, but he could feel it. Kids always can. Tiago, my son, stared at his plate like the lasagna was the most fascinating thing in the world. He didn't say a word, not one. Vanessa's mother-in-law, Marlene, sitting across the table, let out a muffled chuckle and muttered, "Well, she's not wrong." As if I were some kind of joke, I looked around. The table I bought, the chairs I chose, the chandelier I installed myself, the paintings on the wall I hung alone because Tiago was always too busy. This house, every brick of it, every square foot, was paid for with my own sweat. $680,000 I saved, working 3 jobs at once for years. The furniture, $45,000, all paid in cash. And there was Vanessa, sitting in my chair, eating at my table, living under my roof, telling me I had no right to say anything. Vanessa turned to Tiago and said, in that sweet but poisonous tone, "Honey, maybe your mom needs to learn what it means to be a real woman. We should be thankful she lets us live here. Let's us, as if it were her favor to accept. Thankful." That word echoed in my head as I stared at her. Thankful. For me, letting them live in the house I bought all by myself. I was 26 when I got pregnant with Tiago. His father disappeared before my belly even started to show. Vanished like smoke. Left a note on the kitchen table saying he wasn't ready to be a dad, and hoped I'd understand. Understand. As if abandonment could ever be reasonable. I raised Tiago alone from day one. Worked mornings as an office assistant, afternoons as a sales clerk, nights cleaning offices. 3 jobs. 15 years like that. No vacations, no rest, no one to split the bills with or hold my hand when I cried from exhaustion in the shower. I bought this house when I was 42. $680,000 I saved, penny by penny. Every payment made on time. Every sacrifice worth it because I wanted my son to have a real home. I paid for his entire college education, engineering at a private university, $120,000 over 5 years. He graduated. Got a job. Met Vanessa. They got married. And I, because I'm a mother and wanted to help, told them they could live here until they saved enough to buy their own place. I furnished the whole house for them. Sofa, bed, wardrobe, dining table, everything. $45,000 in new furniture. I pay property taxes, HOA fees, utilities, $1,200 a month for 3 years. That's $43,200. Plus the help money I give Tiago each month, $800. That's another $28,800. I had never added it all up before. But in that heavy silence, the numbers started appearing in my mind like lights turning on one by one. $917,000. That's what I've invested in my son's life, from his first bottle of milk to the last electric bill. Vanessa stood up, crossed her arms, and looked at me like I was a stubborn child. You know what, Claudia? If you're so independent, so strong, why don't you move out for a week and live on your own? Bet you couldn't handle it. Bet you need us more than we need you. She was challenging me, in my own house. Tiago finally looked up. Finally. But not to defend me. He looked at me with that "Mom, don't make a scene" expression he always wears when he wants to avoid conflict. And that's when something inside me broke. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hurt. It was clarity. I had been buying love, paying to be tolerated, accepting crumbs of affection in exchange for everything I gave. And the worst part? My own son let it happen. I stood up slowly, looked at Vanessa, then at Tiago. My voice came out low, but steady. You have 30 days to find another place. This is my house, and you're moving out. Marlene choked on her wine. Vanessa laughed, actually laughed, like I'd just told a joke. You wouldn't dare, she said. Tiago put a hand on her arm, trying to calm her down, but turned to me and said the worst thing a son can say to his mother. Mom, you're overreacting. Overreacting. Me, the woman who gave everything, overreacting. That word stayed with me all night. I didn't sleep, sat on my bed staring at the ceiling, calculating, recalculating, thinking about things I had never let myself think before. I'm not just a single mom. I've never been just that. But after hearing it so many times, being reduced to that label, I had forgotten who I was. I own 3 rental properties. 3. Apartments I bought with the inheritance my father left me, invested wisely while everyone told me to spend it on nonsense. Those apartments bring in $3,500 a month. I work as a freelance accountant for 8 mid-sized companies. 8. I do their books from home on my schedule, earning far more than I would at an office. I have $340,000 saved in CDs, money I don't touch. My future, my security, my peace. I've been promoted 4 times in my career without ever asking for favors or bowing to anyone. I raised a son on my own who became an engineer. Taught my grandson to read at 3 while Vanessa was busy taking selfies for Instagram. I did all that, alone. And yet, there I was, being treated like a burden. Julia showed up at my house 2 days after that lunch. Julia's been my best friend since we worked together at an accounting firm before she became a lawyer. She knocked, came in, looked at me and said, "Tell me everything." And I did. Every word, every humiliation. When I finished, she was silent for about 5 seconds. Then she sighed deeply and said something that changed everything. "Claudia, you know you can legally evict them, right? The house is in your name. They don't have a lease. They don't pay rent. They're just residents by permission, permission you can revoke any time." I'd never thought about it that way, never treated it as something legal. To me, it was family. But Julia was right. Legally, they had no rights over this house. She helped me review the paperwork, the deed, payment receipts, bank statements. That's when we found something that made my stomach turn. Vanessa had been using my home address to open store credit accounts, $12,000 in debt. Purchases on retail credit cards, installment plans, all using my property's address. Julia showed me the bills that had been delivered here, ones I hadn't even known about because Vanessa intercepted the mail. A new TV, a bedroom sofa, clothes, shoes, makeup, all bought on credit. "That's fraud," Julia said. "Using someone else's address without authorization to incur debt is illegal. You could press charges." I didn't want to sue. I just wanted my house back, my peace back, my dignity back. Julia grabbed a pen and wrote everything down, made a list. Vanessa had never held a formal job in her life. Lived off the allowance I gave Tiago and the additional credit card I had given him 2 years ago, thinking it would help. The card limit is $5,000. Last month's bill? $4,800. I pay it. Always have. Julia looked at me and said, "You gave them 30 days to move out." If I were you, I'd make it 15, and I'd make her pay that 12,000 debt back, not out of revenge, out of justice. When Julia left, I sat alone in the living room. Tiago and Vanessa had gone out with Igor. Didn't say where, just left. For the first time in 3 years, I looked around that space and didn't feel like it was mine. It felt invaded, occupied, taken, and I had allowed it. But now I was taking it back. A week later, Vanessa called me. Her voice sounded different, softer, almost sweet. "Claudia, I think we need to talk. Let's have dinner here, something small, just to clear the air. My parents, Marlene, everyone together. Let's fix this as a family." I knew what she was doing. She wanted to corner me in front of an audience, make me look like the crazy, dramatic mother kicking her own son out for no reason. I said yes, agreed to the dinner. But this time, I'd be ready. I called Julia. "You're coming with me, and bring all the documents." She didn't hesitate. "You got it." The dinner was set for Friday at 7 in the evening. When Julia and I arrived, the table was already laid out. Vanessa had made a point of using the fancy dinnerware, the one I had bought. Her parents were there, Mr. Ronald and Mrs. Sonia, simple people I had always liked. Marlene, too, sitting at the head of the table as if she owned the place. Tiago was quiet, arms crossed, leaning against the living room wall. Igor was in his bedroom, thank God. I didn't want him to see what was about to happen. Vanessa smiled when she saw me, but the smile vanished when she noticed Julia beside me, carrying a black folder full of documents. "Julia, I didn't know you were coming." Julia smiled back, but it was that professional lawyer's smile. Surprise. We sat down. Vanessa started talking, launching into her rehearsed speech about how family needs communication, how things had gotten out of hand, how she loved me and saw me as a mother. I let her finish. I waited. When she was done, I placed my purse on the table, opened it, and pulled out the folder Julia had prepared. The property deed, proof of payment for 3 years of bills, bank statements, copies of the debts Vanessa had opened using my address. I laid them all out on the table, one by one, in silence. Vanessa looked at the papers and went pale. "What is this?" Julia leaned forward and said, in that calm, precise tone lawyers use right before they dismantle someone, "This, Mrs. Vanessa, is proof that you used the address of this property, which legally belongs solely to Mrs. Claudia, to open credit accounts without the owner's authorization. $12,000 in fraudulent debt." Mr. Ronald choked on his water. Mrs. Sonia's eyes widened. I looked at Vanessa and felt a calm I had never known before. It wasn't anger. It was certainty. "Vanessa, you said single mothers shouldn't give advice. I am a single mother, but I'm also the owner of this house. I paid for every cent of it. I bought every piece of furniture you use. I pay for every bill you consume. And you're just a guest who crossed every line." The silence was so deep, I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Marlene opened her mouth to say something, then closed it again. There was nothing to say. "Mr." Ronald looked at his daughter with a kind of disappointment that cut through the air. Mrs. Sonia lowered her head, ashamed. I went on. "You have 15 days to move out, not 30, 15. And I'm collecting that $12,000 debt your wife made in my name, Tiago. In court if I have to." Tiago finally moved. He stepped away from the wall, came to the table, and placed his hands on it like he was trying to reason with me. "Mom, you can't do this. I'm your son." I looked straight into his eyes, those same eyes I had known since the day he was born, and told him the truth. "Son, I love you. That will never change. But you disrespected me when you stayed silent while your wife humiliated me. Love doesn't pay bills. And respect isn't free. You have 15 days. Vanessa exploded. She shot up from her chair, slammed her hand on the table, shouted that I couldn't do this, that she had rights, that she'd been living there for 3 years, that this was abuse. Julia stood up too, taller, steadier, and said in a voice that allowed no argument, "Occupancy by permission does not grant ownership rights, Mrs. Vanessa. The property is registered under Mrs. Claudia's name. You don't pay rent. There's no contract. The next thing you say will be considered a threat, and I will call the police." Vanessa went silent. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. I picked up my purse, stood up, and walked away from that table, walked out of my own living room. But this time, I knew I'd come back. And when I did, the house would be mine again. 10 days later, I was sitting on my porch drinking coffee when a moving truck stopped in front of the house. Tiago and Vanessa were moving into a small apartment on the other side of town. $1,800 in rent per month. They'd be paying it themselves. Vanessa had found a job, sales associate at a clothing store. $2,400 a month. Her first formal job at 29. I sat there watching them load the boxes. Tiago avoided looking at me. Vanessa didn't say goodbye. She just got in the car and drove off. But Igor waved from the window. That little wave broke my heart and, at the same time, reminded me why I'd done all this. It wasn't about them. It was about me. About showing that real love isn't unconditional acceptance of abuse. 3 days later, Tiago showed up at my door. Alone. He looked different. Thinner, dark circles under his eyes. When I opened the door, he broke down. Cried harder than I'd seen him cry since he was a child. He apologized. Really apologized. Said he'd been complicit, that he'd let Vanessa treat me badly because it was easier than standing up to her, that he'd forgotten who I was and everything I had done for him. Said he was ashamed. I listened, every word. And when he was done, I told him the truth. "Tiago, you're my son. I love you. That will never change. But respect is earned, not given as a gift. When you show me you've grown up, we'll talk." He understood. Didn't argue, didn't beg. Just nodded and left. I used part of my savings to create an education fund for Igor. $50,000 invested, untouchable until he turns 18, for college, for his future, so he can have choices. I still see my grandson. Every week, but only on neutral ground. The park, the mall, the ice cream shop. Never in my house. Not yet. I turned the room that used to be Tiago and Vanessa's into a professional office. Bought a new desk, an ergonomic chair, a bookshelf for files. Expanded my accounting client base. Now it's 12 companies. My income grew. So did my peace. 3 months after that dinner, Tiago texted me, "Mom, attached is the proof of payment. First installment of the $12,500 a month until it's all paid off. You didn't even have to ask. It's the right thing to do." I looked at the receipt and cried. But it wasn't sadness. It was relief. My son was learning. Now, when I wake up in the morning and walk through my house, I feel it's mine again. Every room breathes differently. There's no more tension in the air. No more fear of saying the wrong thing, of being in the way, of just existing. I've learned that being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat. Real love teaches responsibility. And today, for the first time in years, I sleep peacefully in my own home. The home I built with my own hands.